Again, welcome back to another In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio. Oh, one of us has some music going on in the background. All right, sorry about that, guys. We are live. We are back. It is a crazy show today. I've been really excited for the show all week. I've been really excited for this since November 2nd, where I believe the kickoff of this Pipe Classic Qualifier happened. Guys, we have a packed show today. I don't even know where to start. If you guys have never heard of the Pipe Classic, it is one of the biggest, most entertaining, craziest pipe blowing competitions here in America, I believe. It's been going for 14 years now, and due to this year, due to COVID, Tito Bern, the crew at the Bern Gallery, had to figure out a new way to make this work. If you don't know, you guys can check out the berngallery.com. They have a bunch of different things for Pipe Classic, the Pipe Classic Qualifier. And today we have the owner, the legendary, the biggest OG I know, Tito Bern, on from the Bern Gallery. We also have the crew that put this whole event together, who worked with them, Will Reed, the CannaPlanners crew, Tyler, and Lyrics. And we also have host extraordinaire Eli Harrington, that we all know from the cannabis world, Heady Vermont, Vermontijuana, his podcast as well. So you guys want to check that out. You don't want to miss that. And then also Raj was there as well. So these guys did all the post bracket breakdowns. So every day these guys were here. This was a long-term event. We're going to get into it. And we have two of the competitors who were actually first and second place, which I'm stoked. Some of the amazing pieces. If you guys have never seen the Pipe Classic or don't know how it works, we'll let the competitors break it down for you and explain to you how it was for them being a part of this. I mean, we're in COVID now, right? So the whole world's different right now. But first of all, we'll start with Tito. But before I forget, Thomas Marcom of Vermont Grow Coaching with our Growers Guide segment this week. Again, if you guys want to check out all of our Growers Guide segments, you can find them at In the Weeds YouTube channels, the Masters of Cannabis, and also WeedTube. And also we have Timothy Fair, Vermont Cannabis Solutions, who is also a sponsor of this event. You guys know Timothy Fair for doing the Leaf Law segment every week with us. So we'll be talking a little bit about some of the local news, things that we saw this week in the media, and where we stand on cannabis legalization. So we'll kick this off with Tito Bern, the owner of the Bern Gallery. There's so many people in front of me. I love it. So Tito, biggest question was what happened to Pipe Classic 15 this year?
Oh man, it got washed out like everything else. And
right,
that was that.
So I mean, you guys
actually, I gotta say one thing about that. Pipe Classic had to be canceled. Pipe Classic is the most intimate event I've ever been to. It's got to be the worst thing as far as COVID goes. Like, it's got to be one of the worst events on earth to be at, because it just doesn't get much more intimate. I gotta say one thing about that.
I mean, people don't really realize how you do the event. I mean, you have your store in Burlington, Vermont, right? And within your store, you have 3 torches, right? So you have 3 studios in your store.
Right.
When you guys do the Pipe Classic, typically you invite competitors from all over the world. And how does that normally work for the normal Pipe Classic?
The normal Pipe Classic, competitor artists let us know that they want to compete, and the Pipe Classic Council actually votes on who enters the competition.
Nice. Now, when a competitor typically comes to Pipe Classic, what does he expect? I know it's a week-long extravaganza, right?
Yeah, sorry, I'm having a really bad echo. I'm having a little technical problem right now. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, all right, sorry, that's better.
So when the Pipe Classic team comes in, how does that work for them? How do they do their how does it work?
How does the Pipe Classic qualifier work, or the regular Pipe Classic?
Yeah, the regular Pipe Classic.
The regular Pipe Classic, you know, the event is it's been sculpted over so many years. I mean, you know, we've had 14 of them. So basically, the competitors are invited, and then they have to fly themselves here. And then once they get here, we take care of them. We rent a bunch of houses on the lake, and basically 3 at a time, they compete against each other. And it's an amazing throwdown. I can't believe how amazing, what an amazing event it's really turned into over the years.
So like the whole premise is basically a competitor comes, right? And it's kind of like a cooking show, right? Where they don't come with anything other than an idea of what they're going to do. You give them the glass and it's start and stop, right? And how many hours?
Actually, well, it's not like a cooking show in that sense, because they actually bring a ton with them. I mean, some competitors pull up with a full trailer full of equipment and tools. And as far as the rules go, they don't have to all use the same materials like they normally do in those cooking shows.
Mm-hmm. But they all start from scratch, though, right? So it's it's literally they just and when you get glass, it comes in sticks, right? For most of these guys.
Yeah, it comes in lots of forms, sticks, tubes, and then they manipulate them from there.
And now the biggest premise of the event is, right, there's a limited time that they have, and once the whistle blows, they have to stop. And by that time, they have to have a working, functional glass piece. So when I say functional, something you can smoke out of, right?
That's right, Joe. It has to either be a functional piece or have a functional piece somewhere on it.
Yeah, no, and we've seen some crazy ones throughout the years. We've seen fish, we've seen counterpults, right? We've seen lizards, we've seen water droplets. The winner last year had it was almost like more of like an art presentation than it was ever designed to be a bong, right?
Some of these pieces, I mean, come on, these pieces are gorgeous pieces of art. You know, the pipe, the fact that they're a pipe or have a functional pipe on them the pipe is more of the canvas. Their art is all over it, and spectacular pieces of artwork.
I mean, grow lights. I've seen it all. I mean, we've seen disappearing pieces in a pipe thing. We've seen some really cool effects and usages. Now, how much time does each competitor have to create a piece within?
Well, in the regular Pipe Classic, they have exactly 12 hours. But in the Pipe Classic qualifier, we couldn't put a bunch of guidelines to things that we couldn't control. You know, during the Pipe Classic, when everybody's physically here, it's really easy to control the event. And the event is really controlled and very limiting. The Pipe Classic qualifier was much more of a free-for-all in the sense that there was no time limit. They could have as much time as they needed. Well, you know, about a month to work on their piece. And so it was very different that way.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think about it, because as somebody who's not familiar with the event, like you said, there's a lot of details to the event that really makes it hard for the competitors. You know, we've seen some of the best competitors and glass blowers in the world come to this event, and they don't all finish it, right? I mean, there's been years where people haven't finished their pieces, correct?
I think every year. I think every year there's always at least one piece that is destroyed or doesn't make it, or you know, they run out of time. You know, I tell every competitor that it's almost as if they really only should have a 50-50 chance that their piece is even going to make it when they go into this thing. That's how hard you have to push.
And now this year, like we talked about earlier, COVID hits, right? And now we're all into this lockdown. Nobody knows what's going on. Obviously, we cannot do these events in the Bern Gallery like we're used to, right? When did you guys figure out you had to make a change and had to do something different?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was really early on in the pandemic. It was end of April. End of April, we knew it was already clear, because you know, Pipe Classic has to be planned. Pipe Classic's an all-year-round event, so it's completely finalized pretty much 4 months out. So, you know, we would have been in the heart of planning. So we had to make a decision all the way back in April. And, you know, this decision kind of seemed easy to me. It was hard. It was hard to accept, but it's pretty easy to come to. I mean, this pandemic it's really bad for events.
You know, it's been horrible for events, especially in the cannabis community, music, and pretty much everything that we like to do outside of our homes, right?
Or especially when you have an event that, like, you know, will pack like 30 people into small little tiny basement areas with everybody smoking together and sharing every piece, and it's like, you know,
right? You're behind the glass, you know what I mean? It doesn't really count. No, it's just been unique because, I mean, for you guys have actually been very COVID cautious, which huge salute to you and your team, which is not easy to do in today's age, being, you know, everybody is it real? Is it not real? All the different hype around it. And now the length it has taken, and we've been under lockdown. But as far as the qualifier happened, now the qualifier happened already. It happened in November, right? The team had decided to make the shift. Now, how the hell did you guys figure out the qualifier? I mean, explain it to me a little bit more. Now you've basically taken the Pipe Classic, right, and put it into your competitors' studios, correct?
Well, it started off way simple. So basically, we figured we had to do something. It's just in our nature to always push it. We're not just going to sit down and wait. So we had one open spot for Pipe Classic 15, and the actual idea for the Pipe Classic qualifier, like the bracket and the whole that main idea, I don't know, it was just divine intervention. The idea just popped in my head. And it started off as a way simpler idea than what it ended up being. At first it was like, okay, you know, let's just, you know, we got to make something so that in September that still got the Pipe Classic vibe. And I remember I called Wally from GTT, and I told him about the idea. And since they sponsored since day one, I was like, you know, I'll just give you guys, I want to give you guys sponsorship. You don't have to give anything. You know, the prize was just supposed to be going to Pipe Classic 15 and competing. And Wally was like, no, we got to make this more interesting. And they threw in 2 torches on top of winning the entry to Pipe Classic 15. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, just instantly the whole event just felt really intense. And then we needed something to warm it up. So we had the whole bracket idea. You know, you could see everybody on the bracket. You could click on them. You could see their art. You could see their piece, rather, their story. You could compare the pieces, and then vote. That was the whole idea. And it needed something to warm it up. So, you know, when you're looking at the bracket, the voting round, it ends, you know, there's a countdown clock. It goes 3, 2, 1, you know, and then the voting round was just going to end, and it couldn't just end. You know what? We're all just staring at the screen, and it just moves to the next round. So, you know, I called Will, and I was like, Will, you know, what are we going to do? We got like, we needed like a person to pop up and kind of explain what happened. And then it evolved into what you saw as the bracket breakdown live with Eli and Raj. And it was, I mean, that just, in my opinion, that was as cool as Shayla winning the whole thing. I mean, the bracket breakdown live was awesome.
No, I mean, the whole thing came out amazing. I think it kind of sprung on everybody really quick, just because I think we're in this COVID lockdown. We're all kind of like really as obsessed and as deep we are into our computers. I think we're missing more than we've ever missed, you know, because we're so focused on whatever we can see and take in due to COVID. I mean, that's it's amazing that you did that for that last competitor spot. Now, is this something that you think you might keep going? We'll see a Pipe Classic qualifier for every year?
I think so. But, you know, holy crap, do we have a lot to figure out. So, you know, at first we're like, you know, we put these cookie restrictions on the voting, and we thought that would be enough. And I was real wrong. The voting, I was very naive to think that anonymous public online voting would work smoothly. And when I say that out loud now, I feel silly, but it didn't, and it got crazy. But it was the first time. It was an experiment. We learned a ton. So we're definitely at the drawing board now, trying to figure out exactly how this voting is going to go down, because it's going to look way different next time than it did this first time.
That's an interesting thing you said about the live voting. So you had live voting. It became an issue. I mean, that's obviously one of the hardest things to do about any competition. It's been one of the biggest issues with Pipe Classic for many years, right? Because you do a voting process at the end of the whole event where you have judges, correct? And it's just, you know, it's people within the industry, people get judges passes.
Yeah, and it's like the coolest thing about that is, well, fairness is number one. So fairness of this competition is always number one at the Pipe Classic. And over the years, that's why our list of guidelines is pages and pages long. And it's super easy to control because everything is in person. But you know, online on the Pipe Classic qualifier, that was a whole different story. You know, at the end, had the Pipe Classic Council not come in and taken over the voting halfway through, I think that the final matchup would have had like 500,000 votes or something. Like people had employed bots. It was so out of control. It was making a mockery of the event, and we had to take control.
Well, we are dealing with our glass blowers, right? I mean, these guys know how to get shit done, right? They've been doing it for years, which is a great thing. How do you feel about all the contestants this year, Tito? I mean, you've been doing this a long time. Were you really blown away by what you saw? I mean, some of the stuff I've seen was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I was really happy. I was, you know, as scary as it was for us to do this event, it's definitely just as scary for the competitors to compete in it. I mean, it takes such bravery to spend the time and energy on not just making the piece, but in this case, you had to make videos of yourself. You had to take 360 videos of the piece, still pictures of the piece. There was a big digital aspect to it. Forgot what I was talking about. What was the point?
Oh, we're just talking about the pieces and
how
you felt about them.
Yeah, so I was super impressed. It was incredible bravery on part of the competitors, and the caliber of pieces were great. And when it came down to Terry and Shayla, in my opinion, those were the two pieces that belong there, and both of those pieces were absolutely of Pipe Classic caliber, in my opinion.
Oh my God, I saw both pieces, Shayla and Terry. I mean, again, congratulations and awesome artwork. But if you guys haven't seen the pieces yet, again, you can go check them out at the BernGallery.com. You can see them on the In the Weeds pages. We did a couple of videos with some of the stuff that these guys had did. It's amazing artwork. Now, that being said, let's talk to some of the competitors real quick. Let's talk to Shayla real quick first. Again, congratulations on winning the Pipe Classic qualifier, the first ever, which is a huge thing, right? I mean, when most people say first ever, we're kind of like, meh, but it's the Pipe Classic, right? Like Tito said, this thing's been going on for almost 15 years, right? And this is the qualifier for Pipe Classic 15. Now, Shayla, tell me a little bit about your experience with this event. Like, how the hell did you find out about it? Because you're not a local girl, right? You're out west. You're in Colorado, if I remember right, correct?
Yep.
And so how do you get involved in something like this? Like, how does that whole process start for you? And then after that, how much fun was it to be involved with this?
So I believe I found out about it on Facebook. I think Bonnie Clark or my buddy Josh McDaniels tagged me in a post that Tito had made. Been friends with Tito on Facebook for a while, and yeah, from the get-go, it was like, I really want to be a part of that. I've dreamt about competing at Pipe Classic. It's a super elite event. You only really get invited into it. So having a moment to, you know, put my work out there and really scream how much I wanted to be a part of it was incredible. The event itself was amazing and super stressful. I was doing a ton of traveling at the time. For that month before, I was out at Melt, and then I had a wedding for my brother that I went out to. So I got back from my brother's wedding and had 4 days to make my piece. And I pretty much didn't sleep, and then had to learn how to make videos and upload them to YouTube, and spent a whole day stressing on that. So that was a whole nother learning curve. But yeah, it was a super big moment to grow and work on becoming a better artist and a better human, and quit being technologically inept.
Yeah, right. And welcome to technology. We're all kind of being force fed that right now. Your pieces are really intricate, though. I've noticed, like, you have an intricacy to your pieces. You have definitely a style. Like, what is your influence? Like, how did you dream up of this piece that you made? I mean, it's hard for me. I can't even explain it in details, guys. Like, you'll have to go see a picture of it. But where do you start with something like that?
So this piece has actually been in the works for almost about a year. I tried to compete with this. It's not even this piece. It's more the feelings and the thoughts behind it that go into it that I've been working with for over a year. But in the end of this piece, I really want to represent my own journey through art and how becoming an artist and learning how to create and to manifest something from some altered dimension and bring it into reality to a tangible object. So through trying to describe this, I went and competed at Champs Masters last year and just had a horrible event. It was really off for me. I had something to show off, but it wasn't the piece I had in mind. So this whole entire year, I haven't really gotten to compete at all or demo or do anything. And I've just been dwelling on this last event, and I decided to bring it forth in Pipe Classic and give it a new twist. And yeah, I'm really stoked on the way she turned out.
No, it's an amazing piece. So, I mean, like we talk about Pipe Classic, and a lot of these pieces that for the original Pipe Classic are pieces that you guys have been working on or dreaming about. It's not like something you just kind of like walked in the front door and thought about going on a whim, right? Like most of the competitors that do Pipe Classic, you know, these are intricate pieces that, you know, you guys have practiced and done for a long time. It's amazing to have you do what you did. Now as a competitor, right? You just do it in your home studio. You take videos of it and then you put it up online and have everybody vote for it, and then you're in, right? Like that must be a lot of fun to get into the Pipe Classic in this fashion. Now, just a quick question: what do you do with the pieces after this? Like, is this something that you typically would sell? Do you donate? Like, how could someone find this piece if they're interested in it?
So this piece has been sold to a retail store. I will be posting up its location and everything as soon as it makes it there safe and sound, and they have it on display. So stay up to date on my Instagram, and you can definitely track her down. She'll be for sale. So,
now tell everybody,
yeah,
where they can find you and reach out to you, because I mean this is going to be a big, huge step for you. And then, you know, obviously Pipe Classic 15. Hopefully we'll get to it next year, right? Because it's scheduled for November of 2021, correct? And hopefully we'll see you out here in Vermont, because that's part of the Pipe Classic. You got to get here, right?
Absolutely.
Again, tell everybody where they can find out more information about you. Check out more of your really intricate work, because I mean, like I said, guys, it's, you know, each glass blower has their own like style. You know what I mean? We've seen Crunk with his tile work. We've seen some amazing pieces come through, and it's just like a signature, right? Again, congratulations. It is a beautiful piece. Please let people know where they can find the piece, and we'll see you here next year, hopefully when Tito and all of us can get back to normal life again. But again, so much fun to see you guys do this. The post, I can't even talk. I'm so excited. The post shows were great. Now, Terry, we'll switch to you real quick. You came in the second place piece, right? Which, hey, huge congratulations. Fantastically beautiful piece, which could have been easily a winner. Another unique, very detailed piece. Now, explain to us who you are, how you got involved in the Pipe Classic, and what is your inspiration in all this?
I've been on the West Coast. I lived on the West Coast in '97 down in Eugene, Oregon, and watched some pipe makers and really wanted to get involved in it. So that's how I got my start. And I've been back in the Midwest in Indiana for a while, hanging out. And yeah, to get into the Pipe Classic, I saw a post on Instagram, so I sent them a message, and they said that I could get in. So then I started thinking about what to make and just decided to go with the bubonic plague mask.
Right, kind of fits the times right now, right?
Yeah,
Now, when
exactly.
you guys make your pieces, do they follow the Pipe Classic rules where they have to be functioning as well?
Oh yeah, the mask's fully functional.
Oh, nice. Now, again, for you, what's it like being a competitor in this thing? Is it like really no stress because you're not sitting in the Bern Gallery behind their torches, or is it something that, you know, that still a lot of stress on this?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stress, but you know, it was real nice to do it in my own studio at my own time instead of in front of a bunch of people on a time crunch. But I was also moving studios in the middle of the build, so I could only work on it a couple days a week. So I just kind of came in processes, which was nice in the end.
Yep. Now, do you like, so for you, Terry and Shayla, do you guys have like influencers? Like, do you guys have something like other glass blowers that really influence you, or is it just like art and how you feel for that day? I mean, we talk about people like Dale Chalule, that is, one of the greatest guys. We have people like Tito,
Right.
who has his style. We have people like Crunk, who definitely has his style. You know what I mean? Like, do these guys influence you, or do they just push you more?
Both inspiration and push everywhere from the glass industry.
Right?
And there's a lot of inspiration drawn from all over. It's crazy if you're looking at it as your competitors or you're competing against, or just people that you greatly admire. The industry is crazy right now with great art.
Well, what I mean, tell me if I'm wrong on this. And the industry seemed to kind of go on a downward slope here for a little while with new technologies and vaping, new ways of smoke. You know what I mean? Legality, stuff like that. It seemed like, a couple of years ago, I was talking to the competitors that were at the Pipe Classic, and they were all talking about how rough of a year it was. Up until last year, it seemed like it's kind of come around a little bit. How do you feel about the glass industry right now? I mean, me and Tito talk about it a lot. It's like, it's an art, right? It's almost becoming a lost art where I don't think people take the value in it anymore. Are we seeing it come around? I mean, how do you guys feel about the industry and where we sit today?
I think with the presence of the coronavirus and people having to stay home and find entertainment and things other than their cell phones and being able to go out and drink and party and go to live music, I think that people are finding a greater appreciation for art. And with legalization, I think that a lot of people are really finding an appreciation for art that can continue to elevate their consciousness and make them happy over and over and over again.
Right.
I think coronavirus has really helped as far as the glass appreciation goes.
Yep.
Now, are you guys being able to deal with, do you guys feel like it's easier for you to deal with Corona because you're just in your studio working away? I mean, do you see more orders now than you've ever have? Or is it, I mean, we see, the reason why I ask is it seems like everything online is setting records for sales. Cannabis, you know what I mean? Set records for sales. We just saw Maine, they got 1.4 million in the first however many days, right? So we seem to see that this is an essential industry now, right? So do you guys see it affecting your glass sales or most of your friends' glass sales at all? I mean, even Tito can speak in on this, owning a glass shop. Is this a ripple effect of COVID helping or hurting you guys right now?
I think it's provided a lot of challenges for everyone. People have had to adapt. But for those people that have adapted well, they're probably killing it.
That's a great answer, actually, I think, because I mean, we see people losing their shirts in this industry, and we see again, like, setting record sales in all these industries, right? Me, Tim, and Tom talk about it a lot every week on this show about the ups and downs of this industry, how COVID's hurting it. How we're seeing companies going out of business and companies who just seem like they're going to train roll through everything right now, and they're making all the millions, right? Weird things like that are happening in our industry. It's really unique to see, the glass blowing part of it, because I don't think we talk about it enough. You know what I mean? It really is. It's an art. It's functioning, right? And it's really an extension of what you guys do. Extension of what you guys are, right? So it's one of a kind. You can't really get them anywhere else. If you ever go in the Bern Gallery, it's not just a run-of-your-mill pipe store, right? I mean, he's got some great pieces up there, some great customs right down to small pipes. So the whole industry is unique. Tito, right now, when we talk about the industry, how's the Bern Gallery doing? I mean, is it mainly online sales? Like, I hate to talk a little bit about the COVID industry, but, if people are to reach out to you and they want to come down to the shop, what's the best way to see what you guys got going on?
Well, major shout out to Will and CannaPlanners here because, we do have a website, and I'll tell you, if you're a retailer and you do not have a web element to your business, you might as well just close now. And, but I think COVID, I agree with Shayla. I think COVID's been great for glass pipes. And in some ways, in some aspects, sales have gone up. Then in other ways, sales have gone down. We'd have to really dissect it more specifically. Not having Pipe Classic was really rough. You know, that's a lot of our income comes at that time of year, and that was pretty hard. And now I'll tell you what, you know, when I walk out on Main Street in front of the store, there's empty parking spots in the middle of the day. I'd never seen that in my life.
Right.
You know, so that's super weird.
Yeah,
so I'm definitely a little scared for the winter.
Yeah, for people that don't know, I mean, you're right downtown in one of the hottest spots of, you know, Burlington here in Vermont, and college town. So there's kids everywhere. And I have to echo your statement there. Like every time I go anywhere, it's kind of eerie now, right?
Yeah.
So it's great to see that you guys are on the line. It's great to see that people can still find these products. Like Shayla was saying, like we're all in lockdown, man. What else can we do? Let's collect some glass. Let's check out some stuff. It's really unique. Will, I think Tito brings up a great question that you know, we're all in the media industry, right? So we talk about websites nowadays, and it seemed like for a minute there we were kind of getting away from the website deal and going, you know, focusing on all of our own social media pages because they're more active, more hyper, and now we're kind of getting back to the websites. How has it been working for you throughout this whole COVID deal? And first of all, introduce yourself and tell us what CannaPlanners does and your attachment to the Pipe Classic.
Sure. Okay, a lot to pack in there, Joe. Yeah, I'll try to do it as best I can. So yeah, I've been on the show before many years ago, kind of talking about what we do at CannaPlanners, but we're you know, at this point we've now grown into a bit of a multimedia company. So our main focuses are on providing the emerging cannabis industry with creative services, creative and digital web services. So basically that means we're making cool stuff. We're making awesome brands. We're applying those brands to products or retail signage or whatever. We're evolving those brands, and then we're getting them in front of, you know, customers through websites that we build and manage for them and market for them. So I started the company in 2015, but in the last, you know, couple of years, really 3-ish years, we've really grown significantly in, you know, as the cannabis industry continues to grow, and as we see states like we did, you know, 5 you know, in the last couple of weeks go legal in one way or another. As an entrepreneur, it's a really nice way to be able to grow your business. You can only scale as quick as the industry that you're in, as opposed to like trying to catch up to something that's been around for a long time. So it's great. We're able to grow responsibly. We're able to, I hope, shape kind of the path of normalization for the industry. And furthermore, you know, it's fun. It's been a lifelong pursuit in one way or another of mine. So to be able to like express myself creatively, which this is, express myself in an entrepreneurial manner, which I certainly do, and then be able to do awesome things like the Pipe Classic. So let's talk about that. So that was an opportunity for us to really problem solve, which is a huge part of what we do. You know, it's beyond, it always goes beyond just making a cool logo or, you know, building a website. There's always a problem to solve. There's always a customer to reach. And like, you know, the solution finding is a big part of what I love to do and, you know, why I love this job. So as Tito alluded, we kind of figured that there wasn't going to be a Pipe Classic this year, and that just simply couldn't happen. Like there had to be something to fill its, to take its place as best as it could. Nothing will ever take its place, but so Tito had the idea about the Qualifier and it being a bracket system, and I just like threw gasoline on that, and I said, well, let's like really expand upon that. Let's figure out how to actually build it out on the website so that it's a you know, a voting system, and it looks like a NCAA sort of thing, and you know, like March Madness sort of thing or whatever. And then from there, again, as Tito alluded to earlier, it was, okay, so how do we fill in the gap? The voting aspect of it, it can't be just that. So we wanted to build out the bio cards so that the, you know, so that the contestants could include videos, include robust pictures, and so that the users could really try to figure it out. We had no way of, you know, like I've, you know, been a participant, a spectator of the Pipe Classic for many years. But we could have never imagined what happened during when we pushed it online. It was, the internet was bound to do its thing and sort of manipulate it and make it what its own. And we tried to kind of like problem solve on the fly. And all we were doing was basically just turning around and like, putting on the whiteboard the 2021 ideas of how we want to evolve this thing, because I don't want to get into specifics, but there were a lot of people engaging with the Pipe Classic qualifier, like more than can I say, Tito?
What?
Let me just say there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I'll just be vague. There were multiple thousands and thousands of people who were engaged in the website on the voting side of it. Beyond that, on a so let's talk about the other thing, which is the live stream. So Tyler, who is, I don't know where he is on this, but he's below me here. Tyler has come aboard CannaPlanners in the last year to really start expanding out the video service. We want to really be like a multimedia. We want to be able to offer creative solutions around various aspects of media: web, social, video, blog, content creation, and optimization, that sort of thing. So, bringing Tyler in was a natural thing. And then kind of, again, pouring gas on the sports side of things, we decided we need a color commentator and we need a play-by-play guy. And, Tito brought in Raj, who's here maybe. And I, for the play-by-play, Eli was the only choice. So and that was really just kind of throwing these guys who before that, I don't think really knew each other, but within minutes found chemistry and were able to create. I mean, I was sitting on my couch watching, like hundreds of other people watching it live and kind of producing it from text, to Tyler and to Tito, and Steve, who's also on the call, trying to figure it out and make it flow so that it actually kind of felt like ESPN for like hippies. You know what I mean? It's like the heady version of Sports Center, essentially. And I think we're actually going to kind of move more into that, really beef up the production even more in the coming years. But so I don't know if I answered all of your questions at once, but that's me. That's what we do. That's Pipe Classic.
No, it's amazing. Now, how much of this are you guys going to take in next year's Pipe Classic? I mean, again, another experience is going to set new heights for next year, right?
Yeah, well, I can definitely say that it won't be called the Bracket Breakdown Live, but I can guarantee you Eli and Raj are going to be covering the action of Pipe Classic.
No doubt.
Classic 15. I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but it's going to be those two for sure. And we had more ideas we didn't even get to. We had correspondence in the Bern Gallery that we were going to throw it to.
Right.
Well, we were completely ready to do that. We just didn't. We had so much content. We just had to keep going.
That was really the thing that kind of set. And as this evolves, and turns into what it evolves into, I think that's what's going to set it apart from the physical event, which is this will be far more produced, and we'll be able to manage it in a different way than it is in the live setting. But that's the point. We have a totally different audience, and it's a kind of a different sort of thing.
And also, I just have to say that if you watch that Bracket Breakdown Live, the first edition, Eli and Raj met each other for the first time. I'm not exaggerating. 30 seconds before that started.
Yes, and you can see the moment where their eyes meet and they fall in love. I think it's at the 6 minute 23 second mark where they finally click and they're like, "Oh, we totally know each other." And
it was
that was the vibe for the rest of the thing. It really worked. And we pulled this all together.
I was blown away by Eli, right off the bat. He was he had a lot of really good hand motions and shit, and I was just like, all right.
I appreciate it. Yeah, Raj and I came together. It was like Lady and the Tramp, but with a dab rig instead of a piece of spaghetti. And he shotgunned me, and it was true love after that. But no, we I just wanted to say real quick, just shout these guys out because there's so much that goes into the concept, and then you know, the technical part. And Tyler and Steve, like, you know, everybody's seen ESPN, right? Everybody's seen commentary. And the early conversations with like Will and Tito were kind of talking about, you know, X Games style, and, you know, and Tyler as well. So, you know, it was kind of like, once we had sort of a framework that was kind of easier to get our heads around, then I think it was a little easier to start filling in the blanks of like, here's what we're going to talk about and how we're going to go through it. And I mean, same thing, man. I mean, like right back at Raj, I said right off the bat, I was like, you know, I don't know glass to the level to be able to talk about this, especially to an audience who really care. You know, this is like, these guys, when we talked a few years ago with Tito about the Pipe Classic, it was like, this is not just the all-star game, this is like the dunk contest, you know, for like functional pipe making. And it's super rad that it happens to be in Burlington, and will be again. You know, so being able to talk to that crowd, like I said, same thing with Raj, like right off the bat, that first night when we talked in like the first time in detail, and I was like, you know, Raj, can you like kind of explain this to me a little bit more? And then it was boom, just the perfect sort of description that was like enough for the newcomer to get into, you know, like me, who only knows so much about, you know, light it on fire and it melts and you stick it together, you know, to like somebody who's an actual artist and connoisseur. So you need to have that combination, and kind of going on that template was just super fun. So, you know, like I said, Tyler and the video team, Steve, like, you can't do this if the tech doesn't work, you know. And the video side, it's so terrifying. Like you said, Joe, we're all in media, right? We're all doing this live, and it's always just such like a, you know, you pucker up, let's say, every time there's like a tech thing, right? So that all going smoothly, and same thing with the web elements, like pulling it off. The first time you do anything brand new like this, you just want to pull it off without like anybody getting arrested or disaster, you know, and like everything else is gravy. And the fact that it was like so good, I think, as far as the content itself, like these guys kind of just struck gold. So it was cool to be a small part of it. And yeah, I mean, I think, like, you know, these guys were talking about, and Tito said it on the news, you know, and shout out to Patty and the rest of the Bern Gallery team too, you know, who are representing, and Sarah, of course. You know, I think he did a really good job, and it's like, this could be something that we really see in the future. And especially as we're all locked down, watching our little screens from various places, you know, there's enough rapid tests to do it every week, you know. So
I think the commentary, that live commentary, it's like the dodgeball style, right? It's just perfect. You know what I mean? It's like you said, Eli, you don't really know what about much about glass, but you've been doing this a long time. I mean, for people who don't know who Eli Harrington is, right? You've been in front of a camera for a long time, discussing many things from politics to cannabis. You're one of our biggest activists here in Vermont. So a huge thank you for everything you've done for me, everybody pretty much sitting in this room, and everybody all throughout Vermont, and not only Vermont, but New England, man. You've had a huge hand in everything we've done on the campus level, and to see you part of this Pipe Classic, dude, made my day, man. And to watch some of the commentaries.
It's like you need the 5 elements of hip hop, right? And it's like pipe is like, that's part of the cannabis community and part of the scene. And like Tito and these guys jumped me in a few years ago as far as like going to the Pipe Classic, you know, and then getting to actually meet people. Like, it's just cool to be able to dabble in that pool, and just so much respect to all the artists. Like, dude, these guys had Slinger on, you know, doing the interview. We had the post sort of wrap up with last year's winners too. Like, just so much respect to all you guys for letting us come and share it a little bit.
Oh man, it's a truly great event. Again, all the competitors are just amazing people, man. Again, thank you to Tito. I'll second that, because, you know, we've been a part of it for a few years now, as in the Weeds. We've been out there, we've gone to the events, we've been to the after parties, and it's been nothing but an amazing love. And it's a family, man, and it's a unique group that everybody, Shayla's going to quickly become a part of. And once you're part of this legacy, I don't think you ever go away, right? I mean, literally some of the best glass blowers you'll see at Pipe Classic 15 next year. So just keep an eye out for all that information, guys, coming to you in November 2021. Now, Eli, you also do Vermontijuana, right? So you have a little podcast going as well. Give a quick plug to that while we have you here.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. I mean, you know, Vermontijuana has been a fun. It was like the precursor to Heady Vermont. I knew I wanted to blog something, and it's been kind of like I've dabbled in it. I've tried to make it the platform for the tours. You know, so I'm still building kind of the brand out as things evolve. And, you know, I think my bread and butter is really being part in the political scene. So, you know, I anticipate doing some more stuff with CannaPlanners, maybe doing some videos, you know, the idea of doing sort of a collective approach and kind of saying, here's sort of the platform that I'm working on. And, you know, here's sort of what people want to know, you know, because it's hard for people to participate in politics if they don't know kind of what's going on and when to do it and who to call when, and then have a high degree of trust. You know, I mean, like, it takes a lot of time to read over all the stuff, and then, you know, if you're going to blog it or podcast or whatever. So I have a lot of respect for you, Joe, who's been able to do this more consistently, man. I mean, the cannabis media grind, it's such a labor of love, and it's so fun when everybody gets to hang out, as you know. You know, that's kind of the fun part. So,
yes,
you know, it's hard to keep it going, man. I'm working on building it back up, and, you know, shout out to CannaPlanners, who, you know, done some awesome branding stuff with, you know, and Amelia, you know, who's awesome graphic designer, you know, she's independent, but, you know, she's been awesome. I know a lot of us worked with her too. So yeah, it's been cool kind of plugging along. And yeah, I've, you know, just also been working on my grow game and chicken farming, man. It's been during COVID, good time to pick up some new hobbies. So
right.
yeah, I appreciate it. But no, it's been fun following you guys. And, you know, shout out Vermont Grow Coach. You know, I saw Tom on there earlier, and just, you guys everybody's putting out such good cannabis media. You know, same thing with like Will. Kind of when we started, you know, Heady Vermont, there wasn't really anything out there for the community, and now it's like there's enough space for there to be a bunch of different voices. And, you know, I think the more voices, the more different people represented, the kind of better. So
I love it, man.
My motto is elevate the state. You know, that's it. So
Vermont as fuck, right? Well, we truly appreciate it, Eli. I mean, I know Will and Eli and everybody that's in the media thing can say it's not easy, man. I mean, we started on radio, then we went to the podcast due to COVID, and it's been nothing but a fight to stay where we sit. You know what I mean? And we've seen a lot of people in our industry struggle. They come, they go. It's like you said, it's a labor of love, and people, I don't think, understand what that takes out of your life in some situations. You know what I mean? I know you, Eli, huge activist, is always down at the State House. You're always somewhere doing with it. Will, you seem to be right there with everybody as well. Like, we're all doing these events. It's a lot of work. And Tito, man, he's everywhere. So
no, but you say, Joe, this is such a perfect transition you make, because this is like what the Pipe Classic is, and part of why this is interesting, right? Because it's like so much of this is online, and, you know, so much of the cannabis community is like, you know, community, quote unquote, is just Instagram and social media, and like people aren't face to face having these discussions, you know, and like all of us who are based in Vermont have done that, and we're fortunate, you know, and we at least have the baseline of respect of like, we would say these things to each other's faces, you know. And so it's cool when you get people, when you can break that fourth wall, you know, because especially like when people come to Pipe Classic and they meet the artists, you know, and like they get to party with them or get to know them, you know, and you kind of just get to break that fourth wall, and like all the cool stuff you're seeing on the internet becomes real life. Yeah. You know, so Tito knows, man, it's a lot of work putting up with the haters and dealing with all the BS online, and you know, that too. So much love to Tito, man. That's the hard part.
Yeah, I think it's the hard
hopefully
part
that right? Yeah, hopefully that one lady in Canada is forgiving me.
I don't want to know. But anyways, guys, I mean, commentary, man, what a great addition to everything that we're doing on the Pipe Classic, right? For years we've talked about it, Tito. It's like, how do we add some fun to this? I mean, you're online, it's streaming, it's you know, you guys do a great job covering the event, and even the post event, where you get videos and books and discs and online, you know, capabilities to check out everything that happened. Raj, now you get to sit down with Eli. Tito gives us a great story about how you guys crash course right away, and then it just worked out. Give us your perspective on the Pipe Classic qualifier, and what it was like for you to be a part of it.
I mean, for me, it wasn't too hard. Everything I said up there were like things that I felt. So, you know, it wasn't difficult in that respect. Like, I'm honestly shocked that, like, you know, we were all talking about like, all right, well, if we don't have material, we'll just end the show, like, no big deal. And every show ended up going like almost an hour. Yep. So, you know, we had tons and tons of stuff to talk about. bunch of stuff we never even got to talk about. So, you know, I'm definitely excited to see how this plays out at the actual Pipe Classic, like between the physicality of like, you know, the video studio and the actual location, how all those things are going to merge together and what sort of gems are going to percolate out of that. And it's going to be interesting.
I would literally love to see the Pipe Classic almost outgrow the Bern Gallery. You know what I mean? Just have enough people there and things going on and a crowd there consistently. Because I mean, guys, if you don't never been again, it is a week-long, was it 5-6 day event where it's literally from opening bell to closing bell. These guys are on torches, right?
Yeah.
Like they were saying, they get 12-13 hours to do a piece, and that's it, and it's done. And they break it up in 2 sections, so you get, you know, a night and a morning. So there is a break in between it all. Just so you guys, you know, it's a lot of time to stand in one spot, but it's amazing to see live. There's always somebody there at the Bern Gallery. There's always something to watch. Like there's never nothing not to watch. It's always intense. It's always cool. And when it gets down to that end bell, it gets even more unique. I mean, we've been there to see people just not quite make it, right?
Yeah, it's hard to find like an analog event out there to even compare it to. Like the closest thing in my eyes would be like the X Games. You see how you know, that one TV show came out, Blown Away, so they kind of did their rendition of like what a glassblowing competition would be. But like, how do you capture like the magic that is being physically there and, you know, project that out? That's like almost I don't know, how does one go about even doing that? So
I think that was the success of the bracket breakdown, is because like what Joe and Tito are saying is like, you know, and what Shayla and Terry are both saying about, you know, the stress of, you know, having to build that, you know, create that piece of art kind of under their own, you know, in their own element versus being in the studio. Like the way that we can replicate that stress is through production, right? Like because we weren't there sort of with a camera over Terry's shoulder and Shayla's shoulder, you know, sort of being able to show that stress in real time, like you see it at the Pipe Classic event. Like it was about Eli, you know, blabbermouthing, and Raj being able to commentate, you know, throw in the color commentary to be able to basically build that stress. So
yeah, stress is a big part of Pipe Classic.
The stress is the biggest part of it because, you know,
Sure.
Pipes break and like shit happens and like all of these things happen. So it's really hard to bring that to an event unless you sort of jazz it up a little bit. And I think that's the beauty of kind of that post, you know, post voting, the bracket breakdown, excuse me.
Yeah. I think we
build
so
the
cool to
stress.
see it like almost like NASCAR, where like the different glass blowers wear their little McDonald's patches and whoever else is giving them sponsorship, or, you know, like there's just so many things that could happen.
I mean, it really is a sporting event. When Tito and I were sitting in the basement of the Bern Gallery, like trying to figure this out, like there's, you know, it's not like we want to, it's high art for sure. It's art. And, but producing something that's like a Christie's auction or just, you know, a little stale because it's overemphasizing on the art versus the competition and the stress of it all. It just seemed obvious to like, let's make it sports, you know, like let's make this like a competition similarly that they, you know, these people would feel at the Bern Gallery in downtown Burlington as like artists are running between ovens and you know, glass blowing stations and doing the thing. Like we couldn't see that, people couldn't see that. But luckily we got even a bigger audience to see, you know, Eli and Raj talk about all of this things so articulately and in a way that, and you know, again, besides being a user and a casual observer of glass, like I don't know anything, but I was on the edge of my seat every night for multiple reasons, but all
there's a bunch of funny I mean, you know, Raj mentioned like concrete example, the way it kind of works so well together with, you know, Raj expertise, especially like Terry's piece, right? We were talking about networking one night, you know, and Raj would just come so prepared with like detailed sort of bits about each of the pieces. And that was one of those things where it was like, you know, networking, people are wondering, how do you put these things together to produce something like Terry's like Plague Doctor piece? So, you know, that was super cool being able to do that. And it's going to be super funny in the future when, you know, it's like locker room style interviews. People get off the torch and they got a towel over the shoulder, you know, or over there, like microphone in the hand, like they're LeBron or something like that. You know, so I don't know how much you guys want to give away, Will, but I mean, like Tyler, you know, I've had a good chance to work with Tyler on a ton of video projects, and can't recommend you guys highly enough in every way, shape, and form, including his awesome.
I don't want to give Tyler away at all.
You know, so I know. Well, I don't know how much we want to like get into like here's some cool ideas for next year, because we don't want to give them all away. But I just want to give Tyler some direct props too, because that was great.
Yeah, for sure. So like there's definitely a decompression time post all this is like, you know, Shayla's got to bask in some of this glory. She's definitely earned it, but you know, Terry's got to get ready for next year and all these things, and we are too. But there's a little bit of PTSD, and we're like taking just a minute, maybe like we'll January 2nd we'll start thinking about 2021. But with that said, we were thinking about it during production, and I'll let Tyler talk a little bit. But I'll talk a little bit about the website. You know, specifically like how we're going to improve that, how we can actually you know, do a better job in enforcing, you know, fairness as best we can, because it's really important. And we want this to be an online event. Like it is different from the Pipe Classic. So like being able to engage with the, you know, people online and actually have them vote in a way that's responsible and fair. It's not an easy task, or else we'd all be voting for, you know, everything online. It's nearly impossible. So we're trying to figure out a multiple prong approach on how to do it. But yeah, I know Tyler's been thinking about video for sure.
I can't wait to see where this goes next year. Like Eli said, like, you know, we've been talking to Tito about trying to get a microphone in someone's face. We're microphone guys, right? So let's get a microphone while guys on a torch and like sweating and stressing, and see how he feels and what his attitude is at that point, you know, and give us some commentary about the event, because I mean, you said it great, guys. Raj, when these guys get off, it's like it's a sense of relief for them. You just see they come down. It's a family, so it's like coming out to your brothers. There's a huge amount of support. I think that's the best time to talk to any of these guys. That first initial 15 minutes when they get off that torch, right? Because it's just
they're not running 10 laps right away. That's for sure.
No, it's just like you said, it's like that initial 10 minutes after whatever you did, you know, whether you won, lost, if your glass broke, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody's ever finished with extra time. Like that doesn't happen in Pipe Classic, right? We've seen a lot of fun things. We've seen ovens go down. We've seen some fun stuff in the last few years. Now, Tyler, I mean, this is an evolution process. Tito every year comes in with something new and hits it out of the park for the Pipe Classic. It was great to see what you, Will, and Larix did on the production side of this, man. Like we helped push it. We watched it. We were there. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, Eli and Raj hit it out of the park as well. The commentary was like, it was just, I could see this being a TV show, like an ESPN, like one time, you know what I mean? Like they're going to help cover it. Like, how do we get to that?
Let me, you know, to interject real quick, you know, not that I can focus on this anytime soon, but right when the whole thing was done, when that final bracket breakdown live was over, you know, we got into this really interesting conversation about like how there is no art news, you know, just like regular news, but just covering art, you know, and it could really evolve into something global that would be absolutely gigantic. And I think it should star Eli and Raj.
Well, actually, I was actually talking to somebody recently about producing a show like that. So maybe all guys just get together afterwards and talk. But a great IP for a great art show, news. Basically based on glass. It was really cool because, again, we talk about it a lot. It really is a lost art, and I think we see more and more people nowadays buying these great pieces, and they're becoming more trophies or shelf-worthy pieces than they are actual usable pieces, right? Because I mean, some of these things I mean, I believe it was what last year we were smoking off of a $36,000 bong. Like, what I didn't even want to touch it. I was afraid to literally hit this thing because I didn't want to be the one to break it. You know
You
what I
probably
mean? Like,
shouldn't
that'd
touch
be my
it.
luck, right? So, but like, I mean, realistically, these are just art pieces for most people, right? I mean, some of the details, the beauty of it, the intricacies are absolutely amazing, right?
You know, I think it's interesting you say that because, you know, sometimes you'll see like some pieces come up for resale on the used market. And on one side, you have people who are like, hell yeah, like I use this every day. And then on the other side, you have people who are like, no, I never used it, not even once. And, you know, from my perspective, it's like, if I took that much time to make it, I would hope you would use it.
Right. Right. I mean, again, it's a labor of love for you guys as well. I mean, it's not easy. People think we can just bust out glass pieces left and right. And
cleaning some of these things is damn near impossible too, man. Let's
yeah, right.
too, you know, using them is great, but cleaning them, yeah, that's tough too. But I mean, I don't know, you know, it's cool because you have so many new people coming into cannabis in general, right? And like, I think a lot of people, especially people who are, you know, in their, you know, over the age of 50 and 60, right? Not to age classify people, but like, you know, a lot of people who are coming in, you know, glass is something that's simple, right? And people want to support local. They understand like supporting local art and local artists. And, you know, I mean, so it's cool that you can actually go into a place like the Bern Gallery, you know, or I know they've got a lot of awesome partners in, you know, around the region who work with them. And like, there's a lot of great places around Vermont and just, you know, support local glass, you know, and there is stuff that is affordable and, you know, you can find a lot of these people, you know, there's probably a glass artist within a half hour of you, wherever you live in Vermont, you know, no matter what, and anybody can get a piece for, you know, under $50, probably, you know, under $100 that they're going to use maybe every day for a couple years. So, you know, great value, and it's a great time of the year to be buying local glass.
Well, I know a lot of my dad friends love to use their most expensive pieces of glass and take those things out and show them off. I mean, huge props to those guys. I mean, again, it's beauty that is just like taking a picture. You know what I mean? Like I believe, like you, I think we all should use all these things. Some of these pipe classic pieces, I wish I had in my house. And again, like I said, I'd be afraid to touch. It's just it's crazy the stuff that you guys come up with and pull off in a lot of these instances. Like I can't imagine the burns, the breakages, the frustrations, the, you know, how the hell do I pull this off kind of moments you guys have had within glass, because again, it's glass, right? It's not easy. And once you break it, it's kind of broken in a sense. I mean, most of it can be fixed to a point, but you know, you guys are doing glass like not many people understand really. You know, Eli brings up a great point. Raj brings up a great point. Like, you know, these glass pieces are not like some of these Chinese made pieces you're finding in a gas station. This is not the kind of glass we're talking about, right? So,
well,
if you guys want,
like, again, you know, it's almost like you can almost make two separate classifications. It's like, you know, there's the pipe as the tool for smoking cannabis, and then there's the art, like you're seeing in these pieces that are leading the pipe scene. They're really like two very different things that just happen to live, you know, in nearby houses, you know?
Yeah, right. Well, it's like that in any industry, right? You have like your basically what we'll call your commercial entry level stuff, which floods the market, and then you have your really intricate artist pieces that, I mean, a lot of this stuff is priceless, right? You know, because of what it is and who made it. The thing we see in this industry is great because there's so many people coming to Pipe Classic. You get to expose a lot of people, and like Will said, I can't imagine how many people for the first time got to see what this was all about this year for the Pipe Classic qualifier, just because of the way you guys went about it. You know what I mean? You know, as much as we hate COVID, we have to give it a huge prop because we wouldn't be having this kind of a show other than for COVID, right? We'd all be on a phone in the radio studio. Remember those days, Tito? Like how frustrating those things were? Like, are we on? Are we in? Can you hear me?
Never let a crisis go unused.
Right? Like we brought up a great thing with media, and like I'll give you guys a huge shout out. We'll get to Tyler and Lyrics here real quick because, again, segueing to you guys, it's not easy to pull off shows. I mean, I've been doing radio for 13 years. I don't think I ever walked into the studio, ever had anything go smoothly, and ever went through a show and been like, wow, nothing went wrong in this show, right? For 13 years we've done this, no matter whether it's on radio, Zoom, live in person, anywhere we have ever gone. It seems like anything to do with technology becomes an issue at some point in your live shows. Now, you guys had the awesome task to make this work, right? All these dreams and all these things we heard about, right? And now you guys were like, ah, fuck, how do I do this, right? What was your approach to this? I mean, you guys are the back end of all this, right? So huge shout out to you, because without you guys, there is none of everything that we're talking about, right? So again, I know you guys don't get enough credit. So thank you for pulling this off. Let us know a little bit about this task, the headaches, the pitfalls,
Yeah. Well, so the first thing that happened was I got an email from Will, and he was like, do you think you can do this? And it had a link to the test bracket on the Bern Gallery's website. And I was like, oh man, I've never done a live stream before, like ever. So I go to the bracket, and I saw that the date was October 3rd, just a test date. And it was like September 29th or something at the time. And I was like, oh man, we have 4 days to figure this out. I have to figure it out now. So I called Lyrics, and basically anyone that I knew that might know something. And his background is in comedy, and they do like this really sweet show called the Transcendental Comedy Experience, which you should check out on YouTube if you have a chance. It's pretty funny. But so it's like, oh, he knows how to do exactly what we need to do, and we can just work together and tag team this whole event. So of course I found out that it wasn't on October 3rd, and I was like, oh, we can take a deep breath. But then I realized that, we had 5 days of streaming to do, and essentially had to put together an ESPN style broadcast in about a month, which we quickly realized was not enough time to like really, really work it out. And so, we worked with it. But in the end, I mean, it went pretty smoothly. Now when I watch the news, I'm like, oh, they messed up there. They messed up there. And you can kind of just see through the whole production. But yeah, I mean, it was a blast. And, all I was really doing was helping to get Lyrics and Tito on the same page, and to, help them collaborate at like the highest possible level.
Yeah, and there were sometimes during that process, like shockingly close to the actual starting point of the event, where I had absolutely no clue what the fuck he was talking about.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's, when you speak the language and you have to talk to someone who is more of a lay person, it can be kind of hard. And so, it was funny. We had Tito in the studio one day, and I think this was like 4 days before the first bracket breakdown, but he saw the studio, he saw what we were working with, and he was like, oh, now I get it. And this was like 2.5 weeks into the whole project. And, the whole time we're talking about like, well, what do we do? What are we going to talk about on air? I'm an outsider to the whole pipe making scene. So I was like, they're just going to read the names. What else could there be? I didn't really know all the intricacies. And I was like, well, why do we need another host? If Eli's just going to read the names, like what is Raj going to do? But he the insight, like all we really did was just set the system up and press record, and also have fun. Tito gave us the opportunity to, really exercise some creative freedom on this, and do what we do best.
I really think the best part about
shout out to Tito for being super tight about the COVID restrictions too. I mean, he was everybody who was doing it, we all got tested in advance, the rapid test and the PCR test, following everything so that we could actually take masks off and have like a normal broadcast. But it's funny because everybody's watched TV, right? Everybody's seen like the ESPN or the Home Shopping Network or whatever it is, but when you're making it, like Tyler's saying, there's such a process of like the visual part, the technical part, like you said, that Lyrics was responsible for, and making sure all that comes together. I mean, Joe, it's like if everything looks great and the lights are in the right place, you hit play and nothing happens, or you hit record and nothing happens, you know, it's kind of all for naught. So it's it was impressive. These guys, everybody snapped all the gears into place and everything kind of churned. And I think after that first night, when these guys had it going, you know, I mean, it is also a thing like being able to do it in Burlington with, I think, fast enough upload speed, right? Because I think that's the only technical thing where, like, why can't anybody do this from anywhere? That I know that is a factor. And, you know, I don't know how much you guys had to figure that out, but, you know, that's why everybody can't do this everywhere at the same level.
That is a great thing to bring up, Eli, is internet speeds, right? Like, people don't realize how much it takes to pull off live streaming video. I've had my internet people here for weeks, and they're literally like, what I do is a limitation to what I can do on my internet that's provided to me in my town. So, like, for me to do anything more and do what I want to do, I literally have to go to another town nearby to pull off the internet. Luckily for Tito and Will, you know, you guys were in downtown Burlington, so I can imagine your internet was pretty good. But some of the things I think we've all experienced is, like, you know, and the internet companies aren't going to say yes, but like, now that everybody's on the internet, has anybody ever had non-buffered weird internet at all anymore? No, I get it all the time. Everything's slow, it's fast, it's weird. Like, every week we seem to have somebody popping in and out of the show, and half the time it's me, because of our internets, right? So it really puts a stress on everybody's systems. And for somebody to pull off, again, another multi-day event without any major hiccups like that is a huge shout out to you guys in the planning. So Lyrics, I mean, you're the guy that got basically the way back into all this, right? So everything's coming down your shoulders. No pressure, right? Like Eli said, if it doesn't play when you hit the button, you know, it's your fault, right? Tell us about your experience with the Pipe Classic Qualifier. I mean, this is a great event. We've talked to pretty much everybody involved, and now it really kind of comes to you, man. Like, how'd you pull this off?
Oh man, well, like Tyler said, he came up to me randomly. He's like, hey, like, try to do this competition for Bern Gallery. And I was like, he's like, do you want to do a live stream? And I've only been doing live streams for like my comedy group. And I learned it because of COVID. I was like, I want to be able to make shows every week. So I learned how to like stream online. And so when he hit me up to do like an actual like gig, like an actual like, okay, this is actual thing. I was like, I think I could pull it off. I think I got
professionals.
It. Yeah, professionals. Like, I've been doing it every week for like 6 months. You know, you guys do the same thing, but a professional setting. But like, you know, we met up and we started coming up with ideas about how to have it set up. And actually in my living room, this little zone right here, there's actually a big green screen here, which that's what we had set up for the whole show. And so we ended up doing the show in here in my like 10 by 10 apartment. And we just had to make sure everything was good, man. Like, there's like, you know, with hooking up through, you know, you gotta get like third-party software like Restream, so you can stream through YouTube and through Facebook at the same time, and you want to make sure there's no delays. And then you're trying to come up with like ideas for graphics, and like, you know, you try to have like the little intro graphics, like you want to make it look like official, like ESPN, like you said. I never watch sports, so I don't know much about ESPN. So I just know like the jokes of ESPN to like base my ideas of what ESPN is like. And I think it turned out pretty well, honestly. Like, there weren't many hiccups. Like, even last minute decisions we had to make, we're just like everyone's anxiety. Like, they're talking about everyone being able to like recognize like the Bern Gallery, like the Pipe Classic anxiety. It definitely would pop off every
I just woke
day.
up from my post Pipe Classic Qualifier nap.
Oh yeah, like I still like feel like I'm still in the coma. Like I'm like half like, oh, but it was amazing. It was a fun thing. I got to learn like so much about glass and get to meet like this community, which was like awesome. So like, I'm excited to be a part of it in the future. If you guys will let me, that'd be sweet. Like, it was a great time.
Well, it's awesome to talk about production, because obviously we do it here. We all have issues. It's great to hear a story go so easily, because it's like, you know, all these third streams, OBS. How do we approach it? How do we do it? How do we pull it off? It's like, you know, we've tried OBS, and then when the minute we put a filter on it, it goes fuzzy. Then it's like, shit, we're in the show, and now what do? You know what I mean? So it's a lot of that fun stuff that we've tried. We've just kind of kept it simple lately, because it's all self-produced. Like we said, it's all done right in front of me here in my little 8x8 studio. So I feel I get the feels, but that's what we got to face in COVID, right? And that's what the unique thing about learning curves and people. Everybody's having access to this, right? What we're going to do really quick, guys. We have Timothy Fair from Vermont Cannabis Solutions, who's also with us. We're going to get into a little bit of our weekly updates of news, laws, all the different things going on in the cannabis industry. It's going to be an open table, so you guys can feel free to interject ideas, questions, stuff like that. We're going to play a little bit of our Growers Guide segment from Thomas Marcom of Vermont Cannabis Solutions. He was on earlier, but he had to get off. He had an appointment at 5 o'clock. So we just kind of messed up the timing on that a little bit. So he sent in a segment this week, and we're going to review that now. So here we go. We're going to do the Thomas Marcom Vermont Grow Coaching Growers Guide.
Oh, hey guys, what's up? How'd you enjoy that new intro? Absolutely loving it myself. Well, it's time for another week of Growers Guide, and you know what that means. Time to get busy. This week, we are going to be making pumpkin pie, infused pumpkin pie. Why? Because tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Now, you may not celebrate Thanksgiving, but I do, and I like pumpkin pie. So I'm gonna make some infused pumpkin pie today, and you're welcome to join me. Here we go. So we're going to start with 3/4 cup of sugar. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon ginger, and 1/2 teaspoon nutmeg. Then 2 eggs. Then 15 ounces of pumpkin. Now we need 12 ounces of sweetened condensed milk. And then a pre-baked pie crust. Last but not least, 1 gram of your favorite concentrate. Okay, so now we're going to add all of our ingredients to a mixing bowl and whisk them together until nice and smooth. We've left out the concentrates for now, as the concentrates are currently in the oven decarbing. When they're done decarbing, we're going to go ahead and add our concentrates to about 10 milliliters of MCT oil. That's going to allow the concentrates to mix easier into the pumpkin mixture, as well as disperse the medicine and the concentrates more evenly throughout the pie. All right, here we go. Look at that drip. Looks yummy. All right, here's the pour. Here we go. Now it's time to bake. Bake at 325 degrees until the internal temperature reaches 175 degrees. That's going to be roughly about an hour or so. Make sure you cool for 8 hours or more prior to consuming. Now for the final touch. Ta-da! All right, guys, so that is it. Super easy, super simple. Got to make some pumpkin pie, right? Okay, so we've got that infused pumpkin pie all ready to go. Unfortunately, I am not going to be able to eat it today. I have to wait till tomorrow so that I can eat it with the family. Don't worry, I'm not going to give it to the kids. If you guys have any questions or concerns about today's segment, or would like to set up a consultation appointment with Vermont Grow Coaching, just reach out to us at vermontgrowcoach.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, or contact us directly at 802-342-5381.
Huge shout out to Thomas Marcom of Vermont Grow Coaching. Guys, usually he's here to discuss his segments. Unfortunately, he had a meeting today. So he's not here, but damn, I'm hungry. I don't know if you guys are doing infused foods or anybody who likes to do infused foods. If you guys want to find this segment right after the show, I'm going to quickly post it right up to YouTube and share it back out so you guys can check it out. Get yourself your own little recipe here of an infused pumpkin pie. Again, you guys can find Thomas Marcom at Vermont Grow Coaching, Coaching Goats, and on our In the Weeds YouTube page. Guys, we're back. I just want to introduce Timothy Fair real quick, Vermont Cannabis Solutions. Let me say I got way too high today.
I love Tom's new segment. That was tight. Beautiful.
Well, what's beautiful about these guys is they're working hard, like we discussed earlier with Tyler and Larix. You know what I mean? It's it's this day and age. You know what I mean? We'll set it great. You know what I mean? We're all looking at podcasts. We're all looking at how to better our content, how to make it more catchy. And the biggest thing that no one really talks about, I mean, we have a 2-hour show, so the idea is to try to catch someone's attention for a duration of time, right? A lot of these quick little fun things are great because a lot of us don't have the time to focus for 2 hours. That's why archives and content is great because we can always go back, we can rewatch it, we can listen to it, right? All the Pipe Classic Qualifier stuff I can go find and rewatch again and check out what you guys did and how it worked. And people who haven't seen it, I recommend that they go do that, right? And be a part of this event because, like Will said, it was one of the it reached a lot of people, which is great. That's the beauty of the internet, right? But Tim, you were a part of this as well. I mean, you're in Burlington. We're all family here, right? And you're also a sponsor of the event. So before we get into our little, news and nerd out on cannabis laws and stuff, tell us about your experience with the Pipe Classic.
I love the Pipe Classic. I missed it again, like everybody. I was incredibly impressed, obviously, with Tito's decision. It was not an easy one to make. One of those decisions a lot of people couldn't make, the hard decisions, and he was able to, and it was the right one ultimately, and it led to the qualifier, which I just think is an amazing event. But of course, the camaraderie of getting together, of getting to meet these artists. So, every year we've sponsored for the last few years since we started Vermont Cannabis Solutions, and every year I get to meet the most amazing artists, and it's incredible. It's incredible progress to see them come in with an idea, and then over the course of the competition, that idea becomes reality. And watching that process and how each artist has their own, their own style, their own way of going about things, but yet there's still a commonality between all the artists, the camaraderie. It blows my mind every year. And I love it. I love, playing a small little part. I have zero artistic ability. I tried one of Tito's little glass blowing contests, so I didn't do very well. But I'm just so blown away by, the level of skill that it takes. And it's not just one thing. You can't just be an artist. You need to go glass to create that. You need to have so many different skill sets to come together. And it's just, again, blows my mind, and I'm just so impressed. And I'm looking forward to when, everyone can come back together and have that camaraderie again. Oh,
me too, man. Me too. I can't wait. Well, again, thank you for being a big part of this, Tim.
I'm a little tiny part. I actually, nothing compared to what, the team that makes this happen do. The amount of work that Tito and his crew put into this is just mind-boggling.
That's awesome to hear, guys. It's awesome. I can't wait for next year. I really can't wait. Hopefully this COVID thing will be over. We can all enjoy whatever we're gonna have to do now. I'd say a handshake and a hug, but I think it'll be knuckles and a forearm, right? Now getting back to the news, like something that just popped up, and it just popped up just recently in the last couple hours, and it's something I really want to talk about. I don't know if you've caught on to this yet, Tim, but Entrepreneur just released an article. Basically, it's talking about a Pennsylvania appeals court ruling has guaranteed a medical cannabis patient's access to unemployment benefits after he's fired for failing a drug test. We talk about this stuff a lot, unemployment access, insurances, stuff like that. Now, the appeals court has confirmed in the order that is going to allow this medical patient unemployment access. I mean, is this something that could start a trend against everything? I mean, this is something that we need to see, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is incredible, and they hung their hat on an ambiguity in the drug policy. But this is what exactly needs to happen, because this is courts. This is like real, this is courts starting to acknowledge the validity of medical cannabis and the fact that medical cannabis users have rights. Again, the federal illegality, we talk so much about that. The fact that medical cannabis users aren't considered patients under the American with Disability Acts, that doesn't give them the rights federally because of the federal illegality. By these state court decisions, we're seeing the states in effect saying federal government's wrong. And the more states that do that, and the more states that get on board with this, and the more that this is, held, the federal prohibition can only last so long. It's eroded from different directions. And the grassroots momentum in the states to legalize over the last 10 years has been a huge part of that. But when you now start to see judicial opinions and state precedent being set, granted you have federal courts, of course, and state courts, but that's just another kind of attack, another area of erosion into federal prohibition. So the more we see of these types of decisions, the more we see of New Jersey contemplating, medical insurance covering medical cannabis, the more we see, the better it is.
Now we're seeing more and more news. Like every week we talk about this a little bit. Fort Worth, Texas, police are no longer enforcing low-level possession laws. I mean, this is all part of it, right? The stigmas are breaking. These are huge movements. It's just amazing that we can't all get on the same page, right?
We're getting there. We're getting there. I mean,
right?
Who knew? South Dakota. Right on.
Yeah, I know, right? But I mean, another amazing thing in all this is the CDC, right? The CDC is finally admitting that fewer teens are being admitted for cannabis addictions. Now, the Center for Disease Control, for them to admit this has to be another huge step in getting this legal on the federal level. Like, what are we, again, what's this mean for legalization?
It means yet we've disproven another one of the prohibitionist myths as exactly that, a myth. And this is not news to anybody who's actually studied this from a non-biased perspective. Teen use has stayed the same or dropped in every legal jurisdiction. Now we're seeing the CDC who, as much as the federal government hates marijuana, when it comes to facts, when it comes to numbers, you can't really dispute them when they're being reported accurately. And this, what the CDC did was report these numbers accurately without bias. And this is what it was. And this is what we're seeing. When you take, we could talk all day about why teen use drops. There's several factors that, are very easy to kind of point out. When you put something behind a counter and require ID, it is more difficult to get. When you have adults who are able to get this legally through a dispensary, they're not selling. The economic incentive becomes lower when you have a regulated substance. You don't see much illegal booze going around these days. So these are all just kind of common sense things. When you talk about, they make sense, but yet the prohibitionists and their emotionally laden arguments aren't based in fact. They're based in whatever's going to play on people's fears. So the argument that teen use, oh my God, we're going to legalize and kids are going to be running around, 8-year-olds are going to have joints, oh my God, this guy's going to fall. And it resonates. It resonates in a lot of people who don't understand cannabis, who maybe have never tried it or tried it once years ago, and they've been inundated with propaganda. So these arguments resonate with a huge percentage of people who are opposed. So every time we see one of those arguments just kind of like get completely and totally disproved, it takes yet another tool away from the prohibitionists to manipulate people with false information and false data. So that's fantastic to see, because that is one of the three biggest pillars of the modern prohibitionist, which is teen use increasing, road safety, going crazy, and the pot's so strong that it causes schizophrenia these days if you smoke a dab. It's just we need to disprove them all.
No, I completely agree. I mean, we've seen this in these stats over and over and over again being released, by multiple states that have legal, whether it's recreational or medical cannabis.
Adult use, Joe. Adult use.
Adult use. Thank you. And we've seen in Colorado, it seems like everybody just kind of debunks it. I mean, they tried to debunk it, they tried to debunk it, they tried to debunk it, they tried to debunk it. Now the CDC is saying it. I mean, we are talking about the Center of Disease Control, who's been at the forefront of a lot of the news lately, especially in reference to the car issues, right? And especially in reference to COVID. It seems like we're following all these guidelines. I would hope to see some of these states shift. I mean, we had 5 new states go legal, right? We talked about this at the early election. And one thing I want to talk to you about, Tim, and this is, one of the things that everybody's asked me about, and I seem to get like mixed reactions from everybody. It's like, so we have a new administration coming in, right? We finally, the dust has settled. I believe it looks like we have a new administration coming in into the presidency.
A new administration for 2 weeks, Jeff.
Right. Now, me personally, I don't know how I feel about this new administration as their focus on cannabis, right? And we talk about it on the show a lot. What should we expect in the next year or so from that level? I mean, is there anything? Are we taking a step backwards or are we taking a step forwards here?
We're definitely taking a step forward. It's not even a question about it. Bill Barr remained Attorney General. Believe me, he ain't lighting up anytime soon. The Trump administration would have had absolutely no motivation, no political will to do anything. I don't think it would have been a crackdown. I don't think you would have seen them expend any resources. There wasn't any particular passionate hate for cannabis, like say with Jeff Sessions, but there certainly was absolutely no motivation to move it forward. There was a little bit of a hint of, let the states deal with it, but then we saw other things on other hands. But again, the president himself can set an agenda, but what's going to be important is who we see as Attorney General. What was going to be important is we're going to see who the new head of the DEA is, who the new head of the FDA is, who the new head of the USDA is. It's these administrative agencies that really formulate a lot of actual policy, at least at the executive branch. The biggest problem to moving forward cannabis right now is the Senate. Because we're not going to see, unless the Democrats pull off a miracle in Georgia and get both Senate seats, Mitch McConnell is still going to be the man when it comes to the Senate. He's the gatekeeper. He is the one that calls the shots. He is the one that brings bills to the floor. Now, the Democrats have, committed, at least legislatively, regardless of what Biden is, how he may be a little ambiguous on the issue. The legislature, at least the House, has been clear. They're bringing them more vote to enact in December here in a couple of weeks, and it's most likely going to pass. It's got the votes. That is an incredible piece of legislation, incredibly comprehensive cannabis reform legislation. It's dead on arrival in the Senate unless we can make a change, or unless Mitch McConnell, I don't know, has a massive change of heart in some way, shape, or form. He has been the biggest stumbling block. So do I expect much to happen on the federal level? Only if the Democrats take the Senate. As much as I hope that happens, I think the chances of them winning both runoff elections in Georgia is probably fairly slim. No exception, of course, Safe Banking Act. That's the one that might get through.
Tim, you don't think at least a descheduling?
No, absolutely not. Nothing. I mean, because the House won't, descheduling is scary, man. Descheduling isn't necessarily a good idea because if it gets descheduled to, let's Schedule 2, now it becomes a pharmaceutical product and it needs to be distributed through and that can get really sketchy, unless it was complete, we want it removed from the Controlled Substance Act altogether. Otherwise, you can get all sorts of potential issues with regulation and who can dispense and where it can be, that could actually harm the state's initiatives. So right. That's why the MORE Act is so important. We don't want half-assed measures on this because half-assed measures can have unintended consequences. We want to see something the entire off the Controlled Substances Act, or if you've got to keep it on Schedule 5, something at the very bottom, the lightly regulated. I'd like to see it off the CSA altogether, though. And again, the chance of that happening. But I mean, this is Mitch McConnell who won't allow anything. I mean, he will allow nothing. Not one single cannabis-related bill to come to the Senate floor, and he's stated this publicly. He's a very big supporter of hemp. He has done a lot to get, the Agricultural Improvement Act, the Farm Bill of 2018, the legalization of hemp. That's a very important crop for his state and his constituency. But he has time and time again done nothing but talk shit about, adult use cannabis. So as long as he remains, in charge over there in the Senate Majority Leader, I don't see a lot of federal change. But the way the states are going right now, it almost becomes irrelevant, especially if New York legalizes in 2021, and Pennsylvania and Connecticut and Maryland. All these states are primed and have a really good shot at passing in 2021. At that point, there's going to be so much of the U.S. population that lives within, legal adult use cannabis that we're going to have to drag the feds along kicking and screaming, but fine. Let's keep it up at the state initiatives. What I'd like to see is a little more coordination. It'd be nice to see a regulatory scheme between New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York that all have the same regulations. That was envisioning the time when product can start flowing across state lines, you know, trying to think a little bit ahead rather than just do your own thing and end up with this mishmash patchwork of regulations. Which makes it really difficult for the industry to grow.
Yeah.
Mhm. No, it's all great points. Which it's again, it's like you said, it's a mess. But this leads right into one other question I have. It's just a mess, right? Because I mean, if anybody's paid attention to the news into this last week, right? The EU court, right? They just ruled over there that, you know, CBD is not a narcotic, right? And now it can be freely traded on the open market. What does this have? Is this going to have any implication? I mean, how can it not on the rest of the world?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, that is again another piece of the puzzle in international trade, which is something obviously there's a lot of people very interested in. You know, we have several clients who have begun the process of trying to explore. We have a few dual citizens. One of our clients is a dual citizen of South Africa and the United States, and he has been trying for about a year to establish, you know, and we're working with a few import-export attorneys there. You know, but the EU was one where there was an open question about this. There was a lot of people that had been classified as a controlled substance. It was continuing to be classified and considered a controlled substance, which made bringing, you know, any type of import-export trade deal incredibly difficult. So, you know, the change in perception by their, you know, EU health, whatever committee, really that again, does that mean we can start trading tomorrow? No, but does that mean that we can now move to the next step? Yes, absolutely. And that would be great. You know, I mean, that would be wonderful if we could see American, you know, Vermont CBD companies that we represent being able to, you know, ship products to distributors in, you know, Switzerland, in Europe, in England, in France, and, you know, all over. That would be fantastic. And frankly, let's see some of their products over here. You know, it's that opens up. It's more people, more eyes, more brains on this, and you can get some real creativity across the pond, as they say. So I'm excited to see those, you know, possibilities become one step closer to reality.
We're getting there. We're getting there, right? I actually had this as a question. Last question, real quick, and we'll get back to the rest of the show here. CRISPR. I don't know if anybody's heard of CRISPR yet, but it's a new gene editing that they have created to create mildew-resistant cannabis.
Jesus Christ, are you using that for that too? It's one of the big things they're making the COVID vaccine with. It's just the technology is mind-boggling.
Well, literally, it was kind of like one of those things where it was like, now, we've talked about the Phylos Galaxy and like what they kind of did and pulled away and have, you know, ownership of as far as gene editing and all the gene dynamics to cannabis that they've tested over the years, right? What does this mean for an industry, though? Is this something that we should be concerned about? Because, you know, I was talking to my friend. It's like, hey, you know, isn't this in vegetables now? Isn't this in our grocery stores now? Don't we have gene edited multiple things that we eat and consume on a daily basis?
You can actually buy a kit for like $2,000. That's all it takes to start gene editing.
That's mind-boggling. I can't even grasp.
A CRISPR set for $2,000, bro.
That's crazy, right?
Biology.
Oh my God, right? I mean, are they going to put an ear on a cannabis plant? I mean, is this
GMO is going to be more than just a strain? It's actually going to be GMO cannabis, you know, all the whole new.
Well, that's it. We talk about Monsanto and all the what we've seen, the dangers of GMO, right? Like all the things that they were doing in their chemicals.
That's the dangers of big ag and capitalistic agriculture. I don't know if that's necessarily Monsanto's a result of GMO, although there have been issues, you know, with the, you know, not allowed to replant seed.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of cleanup projects going on in their crops, in their land all over the world that, you know, I think we're all familiar with. But does this pose an issue for the industries, or is this something that we should be concerned about?
You know, I think that's a great question. It's probably a better question for a grower. I'm not a grower. You know, I don't understand a lot of the intricacies of growing and of the economics of growing. You know, I do think that cannabis has been a craft industry up till now. Now it's starting to become big business. Now you're starting to see publicly traded companies. Now you're starting to see adult use take hold across the country. Does that give an opportunity for big ag to jump in and start getting involved in this? You know, unfortunately, I can't help but think on some level, yeah, eventually. I think right now there's still a big hesitancy on any corporate interests. You know, and what is it going to end up with? Is it going to end up with, you know, a bunch of big ag out where it's financially feasible to do so? This is what I love about states like Maine and Vermont. Even if that was to happen, I think we have such a craft industry here. It's being right off the ground. It's going to be a craft cannabis industry. We're not going to have, big ag here. Would I be worried about that in states like Nebraska and Kansas when they finally get off their asses and legalize, Oregon, Colorado? Yeah, I think that'd be a much bigger consideration and a much bigger concern out there. But then again, craft cannabis, it's like craft glass, like it needs to be hand done. The best cannabis are the ones where people are taking care, where they put that love, where they're paying attention, where they're, spending the time, effort. Big ag's about just quantity, not quality. So maybe they'll get the, extract market. Maybe they'll get the adult use biomass for extraction. But I don't think they're ever going to be able to create the level of flower that Tom or any of the growers here in Vermont that we work with can.
Yeah, no, this was going to be, I wanted to segue into Tom with this, but unfortunately he had a meeting. All of us on the show right now, what do we think about GMO cannabis? Tito, is it,
I'd love to hear,
something we want to grow or smoke?
Yeah. No, that's easy. That's easy for me. And I'm a grower. I've been growing for over 20 years. And when I hear about stuff like this, I love it, because who wants any of that crap? I have amazing genetics that have been in the Northeast, for decades and decades, and they don't need any crisping.
When I read this article, I just fell on my face. I'm like, why would I thought we were trying to get away from GMO products and even like just an essential market minded buyer's place, right? Like if you go to the market, like all these GMO fruits and vegetables that we were seeing are kind of getting replaced for the organic stuff. Like we're talking about craft cannabis, craft vegetables, craft whatever, right? So is this something that we want? Eli, I don't know if you caught that conversation really quick, because it's something I was hoping you like to get an input from you on, was gene editing. Do we want GMO weed?
Well, that's the question, right? There's a difference between genetically modified and genetic selection, right? And like selective breeding, right? Yep. And there are people who are like prohibitionists try to make the argument that selective breeding is genetic modification to try to make the hippies like outflank cannabis people and say it's like not environmentally friendly. So, even like the definitions of all the different words, carry different weight. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how, how it plays out with like what information you have to give the consumer, right? Because ultimately that's the only way you're going to know. Besides, there are certifications, like organic, obviously, which people are doing for hemp. And then there's other things like clean green, and all these other things that are other certifications that are sort of more tailored towards cannabis. But I don't know, we'll see what that looks like, because it's always such like I think the market will probably decide, people want craft and people want like the headiest, cleanest. They want to know that they can trust what it is, so I feel like people want to know their grower more with cannabis than probably any other product, especially right now where it's still coming out of the, illicit market. So, I think I think it's just going to be about making sure that the labeling stuff is, is enough information so that people aren't getting hoodwinked, right? And people aren't, being shysty about fake certifications and all this sort of stuff. Because you see that kind of crap pop up. And cannabis will be rife for that. So I don't know, it'll take a few years for it to shake out. But I think as long as there's a big market and there's a market that a lot of people can get into, the market will decide it. And, if everybody can compete in the same level, people who have the genes, people who have the skills, the experience, like the cream's going to rise to the top, as they say. So, it's going to be hard and it's going to take a while just to shake out no matter what. Like there's going to be friction the first couple of years, no matter what, just because it's new. So we'll see all that. But, I think it's good at least that there is an organic certification for hemp, so if you are theoretically a hemp farmer and you're growing your CBD here and your THC here, you could at least make a reasonable, marketing pitch that, hey, this one's organic certified. This one's not technically organic, but we do it the same way, and decide for yourself. But yeah, we'll see. It'll come around, but I don't know. The selective breeding stuff is crazy. People in cannabis are always pushing it, right? all the different tech they're figuring out, whether it's, you know, everything from BHO tech back in the day and now crazy stuff that's going on. And, you know, people are pushing, you know, whatever, getting up to like 35-40% total cannabinoids in flower. It's nuts. So, you know,
what they're doing in China right now is kind of scary, where they're pushing the envelope on cannabis. There's a great article, I think it was in Marijuana Industry Daily or one of the ones, Hemp Industry Daily, about the things that they're doing with this plant right now. They're light years ahead of all of us, because we're all still battling for legalization, where they're just trucking along, man. And they've been the forefront of everything, right? And partial killers of some of our markets, right?
Well, like, what do you mean? Like, because I don't know anything about that. Like, what's it kind of doing?
So here, let me find the article real quick, so I just don't mistalk it, because again, I'm pretty high. It was basically about how they're, as we all know, like a lot of our fiber, our textiles, our papers, all that stuff come from China, right? Well, not a lot of that is manufactured here in America. We talk about a lot on the show, especially when we get into our industrial side of cannabis, right? Hemp. Where it's hemp feed or anything like that. Like, we just do not have the capabilities to make fibers into anything. So when these guys are making like glass and plastics and cool things, like most of that stuff is coming in from China. So they're one of the leaders of our industry for technically finer hemp. We've had John Dvorak on, who gave us a lot of history of the hemp, really educated me and Tim and everybody on the show that day. Incredible, right? And a lot of it was about, people producing where a lot of our textiles are coming from, and actually they were producing a better hemp than we were, right? So our hemp would be great for hempcretes and stuff like that, but these Chinese companies were really pulling off the fibers. We have one manufacturing facility in America that can do it, and it's just not cost competitive, right? So you'll see that, especially in the hemp markets, China is really pushing forward with a lot of these things, because they do not have the restrictions, and it's an industry that's already going, right? They're already supplying half the world. It's called the Chinese Strategy, and it's on hemptoday.net. But it's a recent report that the Institute of Hemp at the Chinese Academy of Agriculture Sciences has developed a suite of new hemp cultivars for CBD. So it's kind of like what we're talking about here. They're doing a lot of development of their own specific CBD cultivars that are designed to be mold resistant, bug resistant, all these things that in all honesty, a lot of growers have to deal with, especially here in the Northeast, and all across, the globe. Really, we all have our unique set of issues that we have to deal with, whether we're indoors or outdoors, right? Whether it's a gnat or an animal or a mite or something of that nature, they can all do a lot of devastation in your rooms. And then also, herming out or having a male that comes in and seeds out your room. So there's all these unique things that, these guys are trying to get out of the plant by genetically modifying it. A lot of people, I think we're gonna have a lot of different, sides on this. A banana is a genetically modified product. We eat, a lot of us probably eat bananas, right? How do we feel about that? We fight to keep GMOs out of our industries, and like Eli and Tim were saying, and even Tito, we're all for the organic craft. Like what's closer to nature? You know what I mean? Do we want GMO people? It creates a unique conversation that could probably last the whole day. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but if you guys want to read up on that article, it's called The Chinese Strategy. It is on hemptoday.net, and it's called Pushing the Outer Limits of What Can Be Done with the Plant. So these guys are really, really, really focusing on, like what we were just saying, like all, where the barriers lie within, proper, commercialized reproducing of the plant where there is no issues, and they can get to a closer point of stage of like what Tito was saying, that he can grow. But like, we all know that can't happen. We've seen it. They try to do it. The quality is not there. You can definitely tell within the bud, but then we have an issue of an extract industry that is probably almost bigger than our flower industry, right? So a lot of these stuff is just going to be grown for extracts, and we will never see it, we'll never smell it, we'll never touch it. It's just going to be processed into an oil and re-emerged with a terp, reblended with a terp at some place down its line and handed to you in a cart, because that's probably one of our bigger industries. Even with the vape incidents, I don't think it's gone away, and it's going to make a comeback. People are going to get over it real soon, and they're going to realize that no one's, that's not an issue that we have to pertain to. We talked to Luna Stour on the show about a month ago, who was talking about all the new technology coming out to combat what we were considering, the Chinese cart market issues, with their coils and burn offs. And, now, if you want to sell a cart on a legal industry, Tim could tell you, I'm sure Eli has some knowledge on this, but like, there's 3 or 4 tests that have to be done. What I mean? Before you put it in the cart, a leach test, and then a post-fire test. So you have to test it now after you fire the carts in a lot of these markets, which, now what does that do to the cost of the cart? If you guys understand the cost of testing, right? So it's a lot of unique stuff going on in the industry. But anyways, we're going to be running out of time here real quick. I want to give everybody, let them all give a quick shout out. Thank you guys for being on the show. To those who are still here, I know it's a long show. Huge thank you to Tito.
Joe,
to
do
Will.
we have time? Do we have a second? Like, Terry's got the piece behind him. Can we see that? He's got the piece right there behind him.
Terry, you got it?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
Yeah.
And there it is. Look at that. Now that is the piece.
That thing is so rad.
Did you name it yet?
What's that?
Did you name it?
The bubonic plague doctor.
Terry, can you show them the function, dude? That blew my mind. The function, how the different components work.
Yeah, I don't have water in it, but the hat comes off.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And then
look at the intricacy of that hat.
Look at that.
10 mil joint right there. Water fills in there. You smoke out of the mouthpiece.
That's awesome. It just stares you down.
Yeah, right. And even when it's filled with water, you can lay it down and it doesn't spill.
The hat, the whole piece of that is amazing, man. Huge props to you. Now, what's next for you, Terry? I mean, now you've blown us away for the Pipe Classic qualifier. You do have Pipe Classic 15 coming up, and hey, I don't know the rules, but if someone else were to drop out, I don't know. That's a pretty impressive piece to take in consideration, Tito.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
I'm gonna be there no matter what.
Cool.
Awesome, man. It'll be great to see you out here, man. But I mean, I know it's COVID, man. What does COVID do for you? I mean, do you have anything going on until then? Is it come as it goes?
As of right now, there's no shows going on. They're going to try and do some in the spring, but who knows what's going to happen with that. So just locked down in the studio, knocking out orders.
Nice, man. I mean, hopefully Tito and Will can discuss this platform and maybe bring it to another mid-season event that we can keep all of our glass blowers interested in and keep something going in lack thereof.
Oh my God, Joe!
Will shaking his head. Shut up, Joe.
That's what the nicest part about this contest is we got to interact with people even though we've all been kind of hiding at home. So big props to that because it made this monotony go by a little better.
I will say that I totally agree with what Terry's saying. Like, it was an opportunity to we haven't been able to all hang out with our friends, and even though we still didn't, it kind of felt like we were.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. No, it was amazingly well done. It was perfectly done, well thought about, well executed. Like I said, it'd be a shame not to see it happen again, really, sometime in the near future. Before Pipe
How about
Classic,
in the near
year?
Maybe give us a year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Tyler and Larry
the
are ready to
future.
go,
I don't know about the near.
The PTSD will fade in at least 60 days or so.
Yeah.
I'm so ready to go. I think CannaPlanners. I think there's so many different events we can come up with that are can follow this. I mean, the idea of the Cannabis Olympics, like a la Beer Fest, is always a hilarious concept. But I don't know, man. When I think about the 5 elements of hip hop, and if pipe making is one of them for cannabis, doing this with growers, and just bringing video elements to all these different parts, whether it's growing or consuming or I don't know. There are a lot of different pieces of it, but
and it's more than just video. Terry might have been saying it, but it's about the community, hanging out with people when you can't hang out with people. We're facing kind of a challenging time just on a whole. And the Pipe Classic qualifier, I think that's the most amount of socializing I've done this year. Like that was 98% of my socializing.
I wasn't even there,
right there.
and I feel the same.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't even there, but he felt like he was there, and like giving people like something to look forward to hopefully motivate everyone to like use this time to come back with, you know, World 2.0. It's just a phenomenal opportunity, and you know, despite all of the problems that we face, like, sorry, there's a bug. Despite all the problems we face, there's so many ways that we can work around them and use them to, you know, come out stronger.
That's the beauty of everything that's going on, right? We figure it out. We come around, and you guys are right. It's if it wasn't for my show every week, I'd probably have gone nuts by now. And I'd be that guy that's just, you know, I don't know what I've done, but I've probably gone nuts by now. And again, huge credit to what you guys have pulled off. Like you said, Will, there was a great response to it, which is I'm stoked for. Hopefully it parlays into the next year, the next Pipe Classic, into more excitement for next year. And more recognition for what these guys are doing.
This already robust community to new artists and you know, a whole new people. So it's definitely exciting. We're definitely going to do it again. We want to improve it. We want to make it a better experience. We want, like I said, we want to work on the equity of it all, or the equality of it all, rather. So yeah, we've definitely got we've got our work set out for ourselves. But I think like all of these people on the screen, and I wish Shayla was still here, because, you know, everybody was grinding in their own capacity. You know, like they were doing what we were doing. It was about kind of Tito and I formulating the ideas and the teams to kind of execute that. And I you know, it's awesome hearing this feedback. I feel like, you know, I'm concentrated on all the opportunities we have, and I know Tito is too. It's sometimes hard to stop and realize that like this was on paper a total success, you know. We still feel like there's a lot of opportunity left. So we're going to come out swinging next year for sure.
And Will, you were talking about pants. You were talking about pants earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we got a big pair of pants and we're just growing into them.
Yeah, I'm not even wearing any.
I was going to say, who's wearing pants?
I'm not wearing
Well, that's a beauty of it. I mean,
we've definitely got our work set out for ourselves, and I think, like, again, you know, being able to come out of this as strong as we did, like, you know, part of the entrepreneurial spirit is throwing yourself into the fire, being comfortable with being thrown into the fire, and then just turning it into awesomeness. So I think, like, it was, you know, it wasn't without its stress. For every square on this this Zoom call right now, there was a huge level of stress. But I think, you know, we were all able to support ourselves, each other, and, you know, like I said, we're gonna do it again.
Well, someone does it for this show every week. I have a tremendous amount of respect for and knowledge of what it takes to pull this off. We do it every week. It's not easy, especially when you're trying to, like you guys said, combine all these outside elements into it. Like right here is fairly easy because we're doing one quick show. What you guys did was amazing. Pipe Classic, guys, next year, Pipe Classic 15, November 2021. You can find all the information about it at the Bern Gallery. What is it? September? Oh, shit, I thought it was November. I don't have it in front of me. I just bring it off my head. So September 2021. Hopefully we'll be back live, in-house, in person, get through all this COVID strong. One of the best things I think about all this, what's going on nowadays, is that we can literally, I think I don't want to say it rudely, but like everybody had this level of professionalism, like this line that we all had to be like really kind of like this, you know what I mean? And now it seems like we've de-stressed. We can have these fun, great shows where we can have the commentary, we can have the fun, we can have the smoking, we can have all these things that we could never have done 2 years ago on radio, TV, commercials, or even the internet, right? So again, great job for you guys to keep it pliable for people, keep it fun. Eli, Raj, it was great. Hopefully we get you guys back on next year by the sounds of it, if everything goes right. And then Terry, hopefully we see you in the future, man. I can't wait to meet you and shake your hand next year. Hopefully we get that done. If you guys want to give any shout outs, tell everybody where they can reach you all at. Do it now.
You can find my work at Terry Sharp on Instagram.
Terry Sharp on Instagram. Sweet. Find him, follow him, like him, and you'll see a lot of his work. And that glass piece, dude, is amazing. You guys go there, check out the pictures of it. Tito, Bern Gallery, we love you. You're the OG. Thank you for coming on again. Where can people reach out to you and check you out?
Yeah, I'll be hibernating now for the winter, but I'll be behind the Pipe Classic Instagram, so you can always find me there.
Nice. Will, a huge thank you again. CannaPlanners, you've been on the show before. We gotta get you back on and talk about things because it's a new day, it's a new age, things change, right? It's a new battle with you and your team. Huge shout out to you guys, Tyler, Lyrics, for doing this. Thank you guys for the play. It's a huge production. You guys really killed it, and I love talking to you guys. We'll have to get you back on the show again. Will, how can people find you?
Yeah, looking for to brand your cannabis company, to build a website, to market your cannabis company, to grow content, written or video, whatever it is, for your cannabis company, for your glass business, whatever. Hit us up. We're online at CannaPlanners.com. It's right there. That's how you spell it. And you can find us on Instagram and Facebook, also at CannaPlanners, spelled the same. We'd love to help you.
One word. That's all I remember. One word. Eli, and you, man, a huge shout out to you, our activist, who's been in Vermont for many, many years now. Like you said, the big push on our political side. Thank you again for hosting this. It was a great story. Love seeing you involved in this event because, again, you have that screen charisma that keeps everybody there. How can people find out about what you're doing, keep track of you, and find out your podcast?
Joe, thank you so much, man. Just I'd say just following Vermontijuana for now is the best move. Vermontijuana. That's it. You guys will see stuff. I post on there pretty regularly, and that's where all the announcements will come out and stuff. So thank you for having me, and thanks to everybody else on the call for letting me be a small part of a big fun event, including this recap of it. So cheers, man. Thank you, Joe.
It was great. Thank you guys for coming on again. It was perfect timing. I love having you guys all here. And then we can't forget Raj. Again, thank you. Another huge part of this, another part of the face of the commentary. How can people reach out to you?
People can find me at Rajin Tech, rajintech.com. And if they need any sort of automation, electromechanical products made for their grow rooms or their glass shops or any sort of industrial application, they can hit me up and we can make almost anything.
Awesome, guys. Well, again, thank you guys for a great show. Thank you guys for a great event. I'm so glad to see it not happen this year. You know what I mean? Not happen this year, where, Tito and the guys came up with a great plan. Will, you guys, again, it was actually kind of one of the sadder points of my summer was like, we're not going to have Pipe Classic. Like, what? But again, thank you for bringing it to us. Thank you guys, all the competitors, everybody tuned in, check it out. Again, berngallery.com is where they can find out all the information, I believe, right?
Yep, absolutely. Berngallery.com. You can see everything there.
All right, guys, perfect. Now stay tuned. Next week, we got another great show for you. We're going to try and get the details. Hopefully, we get a guest on from Nepal, so it'll be interesting. It'll be 4 o'clock in the morning for him. And we're going to talk about what's going on over there. We have a new segment coming to the show, which we're really excited about. I don't want to release the details too soon yet, but stay tuned. Hopefully, next week we'll have him on the show. And guys, again, in the weeds, find us, like us, love us. All of our archives are at YouTube. WeTube, the Masters of Cannabis.
Good to see everybody.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we're out.
Thank
you, guys.
Thank you.
Good to see you all. Happy Thanksgiving if I don't see everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.
You too,
See you guys.